Hey everybody, if you are here already, thank you so much for joining me. I'm guessing that a couple of the people will pop in and out of this live. At least I'm hoping so. I'm hoping that I won't just be talking to myself, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm just gonna wait just a couple minutes to see if anybody else or if anybody at all pops on, and then we can get started. All right, so I've got two people. Wow. Good night, everybody. Hi, Monique. Thank you so much for joining. I'm just going to give just about like another minute or two just to see if anybody else pops on. And then I'm going to get started with what we're sewing tonight, which is Simplicity 9598. It is a Mimi G pattern, and I have hacked the pattern, and I'm super excited to be sewing it up. Honestly, Monique, I'm really, really nervous. This is the first time that I've gone live by myself. I've gone live just once before, and so I feel like my heart is pounding in my chest. So I am a little bit nervous, but I am also quite excited about this experience, and I'm hoping that you guys who have decided to join in tonight will enjoy this session with me, and hopefully we can get and make some headway into this pattern that I'm sewing up. So just another minute or so, and then I'm just going to get started sewing. And then I guess maybe if I'm lucky, people will pop in and out as the session goes on. So, right. Thank you very much. That is comforting to hear. All right, so as I said, we're sewing Simplicity 9598 or 9599, which is the bigger size band tonight. It is a Mimi G pattern. Unfortunately, I don't have the envelope to show you because I did have to go ahead and buy the PDF copy of this pattern. It is a pattern that has a cutout and a tie back. It does have regular sleeves and a pencil skirt, but I have gone ahead and hacked my pattern pieces. So I have hacked my sleeve because I want to create a puff sleeved effect. And I've also hacked my skirt to create what's called, I think it's called a Basque skirt. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's what it's called. So it's got a cutout at the side with a lot of gathers. So I've got all my pattern pieces cut out right here on my table. Now, forgive me, my space is just a little bit small, but we'll make it work for tonight. I've cut out all my pieces and I'm going to get ready to sew. Just before I do, please indulge me just for 2 seconds because I need to invite God's presence into this space because I can't do this without God helping me. I don't know what your beliefs are and I don't intend to offend anybody else, but for your girl, I need to invite God's presence just to help calm my spirit and help me to be able to perform. So let's pray. Kind and Heavenly Father, I thank you for this opportunity to gather with the sewing community here online. You know, oh God, my heart. You know, oh God, my desires. You know, oh God, my talents. I thank you, God, for giving me this talent of sewing. And I pray, oh God, that you will help me, oh God, to help and inspire other people who also share a joy of sewing. I invite you into this space tonight, God. You said where two or three are gathered in your name, there you are also, God. And so I invite you into this presence, oh God. Help this session to be a productive session and help it to only be filled with positivity and good vibes. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you guys so much. So we can get started. So as I said, I already cut out my pattern pieces and I started pinning some of the pieces together. I think I'm going to start on my front bodice piece first. This is what my front pattern now looks like after the hack. You can see that it's missing a portion of my skirt, and that is because I removed it in order to create the basque skirt. So I'm going to start with my dress piece. This is the front bodice piece, and the instructions tell you to go ahead and sew your piece together right down the center front. So I serge my pieces, although it's a knit fabric and I don't necessarily have to serge my pieces. There's no need to finish the pieces. But for me, I like my insides to be tidy. Let me know if you guys are in that same box. I like to have my insides tidy, and so where possible, even when I'm sewing knits, which isn't very often, then I like to go ahead and serge my pieces. So that is what I'm just going to get started with. Now I've turned my machine on and I'm going to be using a narrow zigzag stitch to get this done. So let me know who's watching, where you guys are from. If anybody is unaware, my name is Chris. I live in an island called Montserrat, which is in the Caribbean. It's a tiny island. We only have 5,000 people. As a matter of fact, the population is actually less than 5,000 people. And I don't have any in real life sewing friends. I don't have any sewing opportunities. I know that the Baltimore Frock Tales is coming up shortly. I've seen advertisements out for, I think, New York Frock Tales in September or October, if I'm not incorrect. Unfortunately, I don't have access to a sewing community like that. And so my sewing community is you guys here on YouTube and over on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, the handle on Instagram is also on social. So that is a little bit about where I am from, and I will be interested to find out where you guys who are watching are from. So shoot them in the chat so I can see where my viewers are tuning in from tonight. All right, while I'm waiting for you guys to tune in, I can tell you a fun fact about my tiny island is we have a volcano here. And that volcano blew in 1995. And so that is why our population ended up so small. The volcano actually destroyed 2/3 of the island. And so it's a very tiny island to begin with. And then the volcano destroyed 2/3 of the island. And a lot of the people who live here actually relocated to other places. Lots of people relocated to the United Kingdom because we are British citizens here. Hi, Carmen. Thank you so much for joining. So lots of Montserratians live in America as well. There are lots of people in New York and Boston and Miami. But I still live right here on this island. So I sew my front pieces together and I'm just heading to my ironing board, which I've set up right here in the corner. And I'm just going to go ahead and press my center front seam open. Now this pattern does have a center front seam. I guess if you wanted to, you probably could remove the center front seam and just cut it on the fold. That of course will affect the V-neck that attaches to your front neckline. I don't think it's impossible, but I've gone ahead and followed the instructions and I have cut it in 2 pieces. So I've sewn it together and now I'm just going to press it open at my sewing machine. At my ironing board. What am I talking about? At my ironing board. No comment. I'm from Montserrat, which is a tiny, tiny island. I was telling the others that we have an active volcano here. And so we lost a lot of our island and a lot of our inhabitants. So I'm from Montserrat, Montserrat. It is a British overseas territory, which makes us British citizens. But yeah, where's everybody else from? So Carmen is from Philly. I've never been to Philadelphia. I've been to New York and Boston, and I've been to Rhode Island and to New Jersey and some of the I think those are surrounding states. But I've never been to Philly. Oh, Alabama. Is that down south, Monique? I hope I have that right. But I've never been to Alabama either. All right, I'm at the pressing station, but I'm going to press my piece on the right side. So I'm just going to grab my handkerchief just because I'm not sure how this knit is going to react to this heat. And I don't want to go ahead and burn this fabric because I will cry tonight, you guys. I will cry. Is anybody in the chat going to Baltimore Frocktails? As a matter of fact, if you have been to Frocktails, I would love you to share your experience with me. I have never been to Frocktails, as I said. I really, really desperately want to attend one. I don't know when, I don't know where. I do know I want to attend one. And so if you guys have experiences with Frocktails, then you guys can drop them in the chat. Let me live vicariously through you. If anybody is going to Baltimore Frocktails, let me know if you're working on your outfit. What are you wearing to Baltimore Frocktails? Right, so I've grabbed one of the neckline pieces and I'm just going to stitch it together. Again, I'm using a narrow zigzag stitch. Now, for these pieces, I went ahead and put the markings on the facing pieces just because you actually have to sew in between two dots. So you're not sewing the entire neckline piece together. You actually have to sew it between the seam lines. So that's what I'm going to do now. And I think to save time, I'm going to do it on both the main and on the facing piece. So I don't have to come back to sew this. All right, that's one. Anybody going to Frocktails? Anybody getting their outfits ready? I've seen lots of chatter over on Instagram about people wanting to attend. I'm so jealous, you guys. So jealous. I'm hoping one day I'll be able to attend the Frocktails. And I saw yesterday that Sew Sorority had the openings for the sorority retreat next year as well. And that sold out so quickly. Again, that is something that I would love to attend sometime in the future. I'm not sure when. I'm not sure how. I know it's going to get done at some point. So if anybody's going to that as well, let me know in the comments. All right, so I need to go ahead and press the facing open as well. Man, I tell you, Carmen makes this look so easy being on live. I was so nervous. All day at work, I've been nervous. I'm like, wait, am I really going live tonight? Oh my God. Oh gosh, Carmen, you are so last minute, girl. Lastminute.com. Although I can absolutely relate to that. Sewing under pressure is just a different type of sewing. Right. Now I'm going to see if I can get this facing piece in as smoothly and as cleanly as possible. So I'm just pinning the neckband piece to my neckline, pinning it into place. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach the neck pieces. So there's a notch at the neckline that I'm putting in. Oh my God, it is so hot here. Gosh. Are you guys having heat waves in the States as well? It is extremely hot here. It is hurricane season in this part of the world, and so the heat is on. And again, tiny islands mean that I don't have no AC at home. So your girl likes going to work just to be in the AC. Girl, I have to. I have it on my bucket list. I really, really want to come to one of these live events. I want to meet you guys in person. It's one thing to be talking to everybody, on Instagram or here on YouTube, but it seems like a different ball game when you guys meet up in person. Like every time there's a Frock Tales, I am pouring at my Instagram page, flicking through, looking at stories, looking at people's feeds. It just seems so exciting. And I like the theme situation. I think that just pushes creativity like in a different direction. So, one day, Carmen, one day. Diana tells me that my first, what do you call it? Frock Tales has to be in Miami. No, often enough I go to Miami. I try to go at least once a year. I haven't been yet for the year because my dad was ill, so I wasn't able to go earlier this year. But I don't know. I'm thinking maybe if I'm lucky, I can go next year. But again, we'll see. So I've pinned my neckline piece into place and I'm just going to stitch that now into place. Did anybody get a chance to watch the preparation video for this hack? I want you guys to tell me if it was easy to understand how to hack these pattern pieces. I tried my best to explain the process, the cutting and the spreading of the pieces, and I'm really hoping that it was easy to understand, and I'm hoping that a couple of you guys will attempt this hack. Now, this month is the Pattern Hackathon. If you don't know, the Pattern Hackathon is going on over on Instagram. It is hosted by me. So there are lots of prizes to be won. I have some amazing prizes from some amazing sponsors. Fabric, patterns, notions, the whole works. And so if you are not in it, then obviously you can't win it. On Sunday, we entered into week 3. I cannot believe it's week 3 already. Hi, Rochelle. Yeah, I probably should go to South Florida Frock Tales coming. I think that might be the plan. Like I was saying though, the pattern hackathon, you have to be in it to win it. And I've got lots of prizes. I've got notions, I've got fabric, I've got pattern weights from Raven Marine, I've got the entire Know Me Summer Patterns release from Brittany J. Jones. She has sponsored all of the summer patterns from Know Me. I've got a Serger class, I think it is from So Confident in the UK. I've got, did I say pattern weights from Raven Marine? I've got a color analysis from Your Color Guru. I'm not sure if anybody here has ever had their colors done. No, I had my colors done, and for me, it was a good experience. I know not everybody's into it, but I like knowing what my best colors are. Does it mean I always rock my best colors? No, but it does give me this sort of insight so that if I wanted to, then at least I know, those colors that are probably most flattering on me. So I do have a color analysis that I'm giving away. I think that is the most expensive prize actually. I think that one retails at like 165 US dollars. And so I was really, really excited that Your Color Guru were able to sponsor. Now, obviously, I'm thankful and grateful to all of my sponsors. I mean, I could run a challenge without gifts. It could just be, go and have some fun. Let's do this together. But it's even better when you have sponsors. And so I'm super, super grateful for all the small businesses that have agreed to sponsor a prize for the Pattern Hackathon. All right, so this is what my front piece looks like. I've gone ahead and put my neckband in. Wow, I am impressed with my very own self, you guys. This neckband looks so neat already. So this is what my piece looks like. Now, I do have my instructions on my computer because, again, I don't have the printed pattern, which means, hi, Will, thanks for joining, which means that I have to refer to my computer. So if you see me leaning in, it's because your girl can't see and I'm reading from my computer as well. So now that I've got my neckband in, I think I've got to grab my neckline facing, and then I've got to press up a 1/2 inch right the way along my neckband, my neck band facing. Slow down, please. I am going to use my serger just to finish the edges, even though I don't have to do it. Again, I said I really like to have neat inside where possible. Now my serger is a little bit louder than my machine, and so give me just a sec. All right, so that's done. I'm going to go to my pressing station, press it into place. Did I forget to mention that this piece is going to be color blocked, you guys? So this is the chartreuse green that I'm going to be using. Hi, Gaynell. I'm going to be using the chartreuse piece on my sleeve. And for the, oops, the Go Day insert, I did gather them like last night. I just figured that you guys already know how to gather. I didn't need to show you guys that or anything like that. And so I went ahead and did the gathering last night. But yeah, Carmen, I'm really, really excited about the gifts. And I've seen like a lot of participation over on Instagram, and that has made me very, very happy. Now, this year, I hosted the pattern hackathon last year, but I sort of revamped it this year because I wanted the community to be more involved. And so I'm really, really excited about the entries that I have seen so far from the community. Some of them are blowing my mind. And I'm really encouraging everybody who's watching tonight to go ahead and give hacking a try. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. You don't have to do anything complicated. Hacks can be really, really simple. It could be a matter of like turning a blouse into a dress, you know, pop a gathered skirt on that baby and you're good. You can turn a dress into a top. There are so many cool ways that you can hack patterns that are not going to be overly complicated. So if you have never done a hack before, do not be afraid. Join in the pattern hackathon. Get your entries in. The deadline is on July the 31st at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you guys have lots and lots and lots of time. Comment, I've got a machine. I've got the Bernina 750. Yeah, 720. I've got the Bernina 720. And I love it. I love it. I've also got a smaller machine, which is the Singer Quantum 9960, I think the number is, which I do use. And I probably should have threaded that baby up tonight as well, so that I can do the different colors, but I didn't do that. So at the moment, I'm sewing pink, but I do have green pieces as well, as I showed you just now, but I probably should have done the same thing for that one. What do you guys sew with? What do you have, Carmen? What do you sew on? All right, so this fabric is a little bit bouncy, so it doesn't press as nicely, but I have pressed it into place, and now I'm gonna have to attach this piece to my front neckline. All right, so forgive me, as I said, my space is a little bit small, but I'm making it work. So my table is right here at the corner, and so if you see me leaning over, that's why. All right, so I'm just gonna pin this into place. Oh, I've never had a brother machine before. I've always had like, well, I had my Singer, that was my first machine. And then I got this Bernina machine, which was a huge investment, but I love it. I really, really do love it. It has been a different experience for me sewing on this Bernina. Girl, you got lots of machines. You are like Julian. Like Julian has so many machines. How many machines do you have, Rochelle? Do you have other machines, Rochelle? Or do you have just one machine? What are you guys sewing on? My goodness, it is so, so hot. Can you see I'm sweating? It might be my nerves as well. All right, has anybody made this pattern before? Simplicity 9598 or 9599, which is the largest size band, the woman's sizing. Let me know in the comments if you've ever made it or if you have plans to make it. Oh, Rochelle, you have brothers as well. Yes, I'm calling you out, girl. Listen, when you are nervous, you look for people who make you comfortable. So I know you, I saw you, I called you. All right, like I was asking, Simplicity 9599. Anybody else made this pattern, has intentions to make this pattern, has this pattern in their stash? This one, I think Rochelle needs to add to her No Notions pattern because it just has just like a tiny piece of elastic to the back. So, Rochelle, me again, calling you out. Oh, Combs, you've made this already. What did you think of it? Well, if you made it a few times, can I just assume that you liked it? Yes, Rochelle, your no notions list. Add this one to it. Perfect summer dress, just a couple of pattern pieces. If you don't hack it, no notions except for a little piece of elastic, which I'm sure doesn't really count. So perhaps you can add it to your list. I saw this pattern and initially I was like, I never gravitated to it before. And then I just had this idea to hack this pattern. And everything just sort of fell into place. Because after I decided I wanted to hack this pattern, then I decided I was going to pull up my big girl drawers and sew it live here on YouTube. Now, I wanted to be on at a time that did not compete with the Black Sewing Network. Even though I could have if I wanted to, Combs. I know you said so, but I really enjoy watching you guys' live sew-alongs. Sometimes I'm watching and sewing along with you. Sometimes I ain't doing nothing else but watching. So shout out to you and the group for that. I did miss Aisha's sew-along today just because I was in the office and I wasn't able to pull it up. But I really do respect the work that you guys are doing in the sewing community. So shout out to you for that. All right, so this is what my front piece looks like. I'm going to hit pause on this piece and I'm going to grab for the back pieces. Now, I'm really excited about the back pieces. I looked at the one with the twist at the front and I'm like, nope, nuh-uh, not with this mommy belly, no way. So I just decided, I'll do the one with the twist at the back instead. All right, so this piece is done. And so I'm grabbing for the back pattern pieces. Now for this one, the back pattern piece is where all the drama is at because that's where the twist is. So this is what the piece looks like. Now I did go ahead and make a few fit adjustments to my piece. For this piece, I had to shorten my waist by a 1/2 inch. And it took me a minute to figure out where the hell I was supposed to be shortening it. So I went through the section right down here. So just in case you need to lengthen or shorten it, this is actually part of your side seam. I'm not sure if the light is affecting how much you can see of the pattern piece, but this piece down here is actually the side seam. So I shortened it through here because I need my center back to be shortened by 1/2 inch. So the instructions tell you that the first thing that you need to do, oh, for real? I've seen a couple of them that have like more of the like front section showing, and I'm just like, nah. I ain't ready. So the instructions tell you to turn onto the front piece and top stitch into place. So I'm just gonna go and press it into place. I've already serged the edges. Now I know that this fabric is sort of bouncy, so it's not holding the pressing so nicely, but I'm gonna try anyway. Now I serge my pieces, and I like to serge my pieces because when I have to do like a narrow hem, I simply turn under the serge edge twice. So I don't measure it out. I'm just going to go ahead and guess the seam allowance. So I'm doing that. No, this is the easiest way in my mind to create like a narrow hem. Like that serge edge just adds a little bit more stability for me. And when I can, I like to serge my edges when I have to do a narrow hem. So I've turned it under once. Again, it's not holding my pressing so nicely, but I'm working with it anyways. And I'm using, again, just a handkerchief for my pressing because I do not want to burn my fabric. I don't work with knit fabrics very often, so I'm not so familiar, with what burns, what doesn't burn, what will scorch or anything like that. So to be on the safe side, I have just decided to use a handkerchief for that. Cam, that's a good idea. Like, I don't want all my mommy tummy out, so I like that. I've seen a couple of them on Instagram, and I'm like, show us. I mean, for some of them, they show like a bit more skin. but I guess you might have some control over it, so that's a good idea. Talking about showing skin, is anybody else doing the Sew Your View Clementine dress this month? My girl Diana is hosting. She is this week's ambassador for the Pattern Hackathon. If you have not seen her posts already, head on over to Instagram and check out her post. She dropped some posts yesterday and today. She's teamed up with Shells of Shells Creates. Now, Shells is from the UK, so if you are not familiar with her as well, then just pop on over to their Instagram profiles and check out their work. Now, Diana is also hosting Sew Your View this month. So, is anybody doing Sew Your View? What? Carmen says she's hacking the Clementine dress for the Pattern Hackathon. Because it's for the Pattern Hackathon, I'm not going to ask you what your hack is. I can tell you that I have also hacked that dress pattern as part of Pattern Hacking Month. So, I'm super excited to say what kind of hack you're doing with the Clementine dress. Is anybody else sewing up or planning to sew up the Clementine dress for Sew Your View this month? All right, so one down, one to go. You guys, so I sort of abandoned ship. I sort of abandoned the iron just because, again, this fabric is not holding the press very well. And so I'm just turning it under twice and pinning it into place, and then I'll top stitch it in a later step. So anybody else doing Clementine? Anybody else doing Clementine? Nobody else? Nobody else? Come on, you guys have to do Sew Your View this month. That is another sewing challenge that I like. I'm happy that Simplicity now has like PDF patterns, because before I was never able to join in just because I couldn't get the patterns in a timely manner. But now that I can just go and buy PDF patterns online, even though they're not my favorite to have to stick together, at least now I can be involved. But the Clementine dress is actually a mood pattern. So it's free. You can join in. All you have to do is download it. But beware, you guys, the instructions suck. Like, I was going through it and I had a few moments where I was literally like scratching my head. So if you haven't sewn it yet, just beware. The instructions are not the best. I think Diana is going to do a sew along sometime this month as well. So if you're new to this sewing thing and you have no idea what's up, then hopefully you can get some help a little bit later on. You guys, I am sweating. Oh my God. All right, so I've pinned the piece into place, and the next thing I got to do is to deal with this curve right here. So I think the instructions tell you to do a basting stitch. I think I'm going to do just a straight stitch to base it into place. And then, so it's got some notches. I'm going to sew along those notches. Some very long stitches. So I'm just going to do 5mm stitching. Sew my basting stitches into place. And then you have to clip up to your dots. So I'm going to just do that. I wasn't sure if I was going to like this part of the pattern, having to turn under this tiny piece, but I'm going to see how it works out. All right, so with that stitched, yay, Rochelle, are you going to hack it or are you going to sew it as is? Are you planning to do a pattern hack for the Clementine, or are you going to sew it as intended? So I'm just going to go ahead and clip now right up to the basting stitch that I put in just now. And then the instructions tell you to go ahead and hem just this tiny bit. So you got to double fold it. So I'm going to try and do that now. I think this piece might be just a little bit fiddly. I'm just going to take my time and fold it in on itself right up to that basting line and pin it into place. I'm not even bothering to go to my iron. Just going to double fold it and pin it into place. just like so. Anybody else going to get in on that sew your review this month? So this is what it looks like. Hoping that you can see. So it's got a basting stitch between the two notches, and then you clip up to your stitching line and then turn under the inside, just like this. So that's done, and I've got to repeat it on the other side. And then I can stitch it into place. Now this is the part of this make that I was most excited about, the back tie. And I just felt like adding that puff sleeve is going to be dynamite for this pattern. So I'm just turning it under, and then I'm going to stitch it into place. Now you guys, Prime Day starts tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow for the next 2 days. I do have an Amazon store. If you guys are shopping, you could consider, I would really appreciate it if you did, consider using my Amazon link. I think it's in my YouTube description. Probably not on this live, but on my last video. I'm just going to switch to my edge stitch and foot because I do have to go ahead and edge stitch the back into place. And so I'm just switching to my edge stitch foot. And for the tiny piece in the middle, I'm actually going to go ahead and use a straight stitch. I'm lengthening it just a little bit. I don't think it's going to be much of a deal because of where it is. The rest of it, I was using a narrow zigzag stitch, but on this tiny piece, I'm just using a straight stitch. So as I was saying, tomorrow's Prime Day. If you are shopping, I would really appreciate it if you use my Amazon. I know I was doing something wrong. I didn't move my needle, you guys, so I need to do that. Right, so as I was saying, I would really appreciate it if you considered using my Amazon link to shop. See if you can get yourself some goodies for Prime Day. Oops. All right, that's one bit down. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the center back. Now I feel like on the center back, I'm going to have to go ahead and use the narrow zigzag. Just because this part stretches, I think, because of where it is. So I am going to go ahead and just use, actually, let's see. Let me try it out first and see what happens. It is a vertical seam, so hopefully I'm not making a mess. Hi, Kay. Thank you for joining. Everybody who's watching, thank you for joining this live. I really appreciate you being here. As I said, I was so nervous about going live by myself. And my biggest fear was like, nobody's going to show up. Oh my God, it's just going to be me. So I'm really, really grateful that you guys have decided to join this live. Thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate that. Your time is precious and you have chosen to spend some of it with me tonight. So woo, 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 woo. Thank you guys so much for being here. Is anybody else sewing tonight? And if you're sewing, what are you sewing? What are you working on? Do you have anything on your cutting table? Let me know so we can talk about that. All right, so one back piece is done. This is what it's looking like. I think it looks pretty neat. I'm just going to go ahead and do the other back piece, and I'm consulting my instructions to see where do I go from here. Oh, after this is going to be the good part. We're going to be creating the knot at the back. Hiya, thank you so much for joining in. Let me know what you guys are working on. Is anybody sewing? Is anybody sewing? I know you guys are all sewing, so it means somebody else has got to be sewing tonight. somebody else has got to be working on something. What are you guys working on? In the meantime, while I'm waiting for you guys to tell me, coverlet for the bed. Oh, Ankara. Will you love yourself some Ankara? I saw you post a look today. Was it today or recently in was it denim? I'm like, wait, where's the Ankara? Is anybody else participating in Ankara Appreciation Week? All right, so someone's here just to hang out. Yay. Ella by Pattern Scott. Oh, I don't know that pattern, Monique. I'm going to have to check that one out. Girl, you hand-based your zipper? Is it an invisible zipper or is it like a regular zipper? Invisible zipper, regular zipper. You guys have a preference when it comes to zips? Invisible over regular. For me, no matter when the instructions ask me for a regular zip, I always substitute that for an invisible zipper. I much prefer the finish of an invisible zip. Right, so I was asking if anybody else is doing Ankara Appreciation Week this week. So I've done 2 posts for Ankara Appreciation Week. I did yesterday, which was florals. I shared a evening skirt from Chalk and Notch. I hacked it for So Recreate the Look last year, and it was in this gorgeous floral Ankara fabric. Today's prompt was animal print, so I shared an animal print Jessica dress. That's a Mimi G pattern. At the time that I got that pattern, it was actually free. I'm not sure if it's still free. I know earlier this year she was giving it away. I think it might have been in April. So I sewed up that one. All right, so this is what the back piece looks like. So I'm going to just put them on my table so that I can see which piece is my left piece and which piece is my right piece. All right, I think the instructions tell you for the right piece, we're gonna fold it in half, like so, right sides together, pin into place. This is where we're going to create the little hole in order to create the knot. Monique, I am Magali. Ooh, that's a nice name. I am really, really anxious about this dress. I haven't done a toile, and I usually like to do a toile so I can see what my garment is going to look like and to make fit adjustments and that sort of thing. I didn't do it for this pattern, which for me is like astonishing. And I don't really sew with knit fabrics either. So fingers crossed this one turns out really, really nice. I'm hoping that it does. I'm just switching back to my regular foot now so that I can go ahead and create the keyhole in the back. So I've switched back to my, what do you call it? Regular foot, and I'm going to do a narrow zigzag right the way around the sleeve. Right, so is anybody else doing Ankara? I asked already, is anybody else into Ankara? Ankara has been one of my favorite fabrics to sew, you guys. It is super sturdy, which means that it's easy to handle, easy to sew. So if you're new to sewing and you're trying to figure out what kind of fabric you could use, I would recommend Ankara. So this is what my bodice back piece looks like. So it looks a little bit weird right now. We do have this tiny hole right here, and this is where we're going to push the opposite side of our bodice through. So I've done that side. I'm wondering if I should finish my edge. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and finish my edge. Again, just because I like to have neat insides where possible. So I'm actually going to finish these seams together. All right, so I'm going to lay it on my table now, and now is the moment of truth. Rochelle, you're not sewing today? What we're going to do is I'm going to just push the left side of my bodice through this tiny hole. I'm keeping my fabric right side up. I'll show you in just a sec. Pulling it through. And this is what it looks like now. So now I need to turn these pieces right side together, like so. And then I'm going to pin it into place and stitch it, and then I can show you guys what the knot looks like. Now, when I first saw, I think it was actually a McCall's pattern. I can't remember the number right now, 8339 or something like that. It has like a twist front. It has a twisted front. What am I saying? And when I first saw that pattern, I was intimidated by the twist of it. And when I actually gathered the courage to get the pattern and sew it up, I was super surprised that the construction of it was actually quite easy. So do not be intimidated by this knot situation. It's actually not so difficult once you start sewing it. And again, I think this pattern has a sew along. I think Norris did a sew along on YouTube. So if you need help with this particular pattern, then there is a sew along to hold your hand right the way through the process. You do not need to be intimidated if you have never sewn this pattern, or if you have never done a tie, a knot front or a knot back dress. All right, let's see what we got. So this is what the back now looks like. So it's got the knot in the middle, and it's got on the inside, just like so. And now we've got the side seam. So I'm going to go ahead now and finish the side that I just sewed and press it upwards, and then we can work on the next step. Or I can work on the next step while you guys watch. Right, so that is done. So we are moving on now to the back skirt. Sorry, got that wrong. So this is what the back looks like. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm so excited. All right, so this is my back skirt piece. Again, I told you I hacked it, so I have removed the corner of my skirt. This is where the gores insert is gonna go. But we need to do the construction and get the side seams together before we can do the gores. 8749 pants. Oh my goodness. Are there any pant gurus in this chat? I have recently, I don't want to say conquered because I haven't conquered yet, but I have been able to make a pair of pants that fit me well enough. So I challenged myself for my birthday to make the jumpsuit version of Simplicity 9330, because I put up a poll on Instagram asking what I should make for my birthday. And you guys, or they guys, voted for that pattern. And there is a dress option. And I almost chickened out and did the dress, because historically, I've just not had much luck sewing pants. But I'm really, really glad that I bit the bullet and challenged myself to do the jumpsuit. I did do it in an animal print as well. And I was really, really proud of myself for sticking it through and for seeing how it turned out. So I'm only now starting to get into pants, and I've been sewing for like 6 years. So, question, how long have you guys been sewing? How long have you been sewing? Do we have any veterans in the group? It's funny, you know, because both of my grandmothers were seamstresses, but none of their kids learned to sew. And none of their grandkids, or at least none that I know of, learned to sew. And I was bored, and I wanted a challenge. And one of my friends said, give it a try. All right, so this is what my back skirt looks like. I have already finished my seams before, so I'm just gonna, well, actually, I'm not gonna press it open just yet. think I'm going to head to the next step. So I'm going to do my back facing and attach my back top to my back skirt. This pattern asks you to interface the back facing, but I didn't have any knit interfacing on hand, and I don't live anywhere where I can get these things readily, and so I'm going to skip the interfacing. I hope it's not detrimental. I hope it's not detrimental. Are you working on the jacket as well, or just the pants? Is it like you're making the whole set? Oh, for work. I want to know if you're making the entire set. I need to go and look up that pattern then. Is it, what do you say, Simplicity 8749? All right, so how long have you guys been sewing? Do we have any gurus in the chat? Long-time seamstresses? All right, I want to make sure that I got this right. All right, so this is the bottom. So I'm just gonna pin it into place, following the notches. Just like so. To making this one. All right, I'm using my lap as a table just because I don't have the benefit of a sewing room. I've seen some gorgeous sewing rooms here on YouTube and over on Instagram. If you have a sewing room, you are blessed and highly favored. Does anybody else just sew like in a corner of their house? This is actually like the corner of my house. Sewing since I was in high school. All right, so has that been a long time ago? Or are you like a spring chicken, like 20? All right, so it's pinned into place, and I'm just going to stitch it down, and then I can show you guys what the back piece looks like. You probably could just base this into place because, oops, the facing piece also needs to be attached to the back. I forgot that step. So I probably could have just attached the facing one time, but I didn't. So let me just baste it into place, and then I can go back and attach the facing piece. All right, so I've attached that piece. Now let me see if I can find the facing. All right, so I've got one facing piece cut on the fold. The instructions say right sides together, pin the back facing to upper edge of skirt back, sandwiching the bodice, matching the center, small dots and large dots. All right, so right sides together. Let me just pin this into place and then stitch it all together. 40 years, holy crap. You have been enjoying this glorious hobby for 40 years? That is amazing. I really wish I had started learning to sew like earlier in life. I don't know, at first, when my friend told me about it, I was like, girl, I don't want no old lady hobby. I don't want to sew. Who sews? You know, I like real had my face like screw up. And, you know, she was laughing at me. She's like, give it a go, give it a go, give it a go. I think you would really be good at it. And I came home and I said to my husband, I'm going to buy a machine. And he laughed at me first. Then I told my brother the same thing. I'm going to go and order a machine. And he's like, oh, Chris, you know, you can't stick with nothing. Translation, it means that, like, I get bored easily. So they were doubting me. They were like, let's see how long she lasts. there is no way that she's going to be doing this for very long. But alas, here we are 6 years later, and I'm still going strong. So 6 years. Well, I am only 36, and I find sewing therapeutic myself. It helped me so much after my mom passed away. It was so therapeutic for me to sit at my sewing machine and sew. It was a really, really difficult experience for me losing my mom, and just the ability to get lost in sewing. I highly recommend it. I was wrong. Me mouthing off talking about sewing is an old people hobby. Clearly, I had no idea what I was talking about. And now I have a very different view. I'm so thankful that I was able to discover this, with a little bit of applause from my friend. So I'm hoping I could get to 40 years of sewing. That would be amazing. I'm actually surprised at how quickly this is coming along, or maybe it is that I'm not aware of how the time is going, because I finished constructing the main front. I'm now almost finished constructing the main back, and hopefully soon we'll be getting to the good part, which will be the actual hack of this pattern. Yes, please make sure to like this live. Again, thank you guys so much for joining, for taking the time to join me tonight. As I said, I was like, ain't nobody gonna show up. You're gonna be here by yourself. And so I really appreciate you guys spending some time with me tonight. And I'm hoping with a little bit more practice, I will get really good at this, multitasking, being able to sew and to talk to you guys at the same time. But I do appreciate you guys being here with me tonight. Again, it means a lot to me. A lot. This community is amazing. I've met some really, really, really nice and encouraging pieces in this community. And so I'm super, super grateful to be a part of this community. All right, so I've got my back facing. This is my back of my dress. You can see the cutout detail right through here. And then I think now we have to, what do we have to do? I think we have to, trim sleeve, quick curves on the stitch. Turn it to the inside. All right, so it's almost time for the elastic in the back. And it tells me to understitch my seam allowances to my facing piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. It does say I can trim down the seams. Maybe I can just use my pinking shears and trim them down. Again, if you're shopping tomorrow for Prime, if you want to buy things like pinking shears and so on, I really would appreciate if you considered using my Amazon storefront to shop, make your purchases. You don't have to, no pressure, but I would really appreciate if you did. So tell a friend to tell a friend. If you're shopping, help a girl out whilst you're shopping. Kill two birds with one stone. All right, this is a little bit clumsy. I really should have this on my table, but nobody's gonna see this bit, so I'm just going with the flow. I cannot wait to get this skirt on, the side panels of the skirt on. I even feel like I'm going to do that before the sleeves, because I'm excited about the sleeves, but I'm more excited about the skirt portion of this make. So let's see. Actually, I can't do it that way. I just remembered, I think the sleeves have to go in flat, or it's recommended that you put them in flat. And so I'm probably going to have to do the sleeves first. In hindsight, I think that's what I'm going to have to do. Right, so I'm just going to understitch my seam allowance to my facing. And then we can attach the elastic to the back. very much. That is comforting. At least I'm not making a complete fool of myself. So thank you very much for that. Remember to like the live. All right. Again, let me remind you guys, if you are not following along with the Pattern Hackathon over on Instagram, now is the time to get involved. Go and check out what the ambassadors are doing. We have had 2 amazing weeks so far. Last week, Shamir and Shelly, wow, those 2 ladies are super, super talented. Now, they had a McCall skirt pattern, and they turned that skirt pattern, both of them, into dresses. I don't know if they planned it that way, but we ended up with 2 amazing dresses. As a matter of fact, I think Shamir made 3 dresses, and they were incredible. All right, so I'm done my understitching now, and so the next step is to get my elastic in place. So I've cut my elastic already. There is an elastic guide in the instructions. I've already cut my elastic, and it tells you lift up the back facing, pin ends of elastic to upper edges of the skirt. So I'm just going to do that. And then leave elastic free between stitching. All right, so we're just going to stitch the elastic into place, but we're not stitching it down. It simply goes to the side seams, and then you stitch it into place at the side seam only. So let's see what we get. It's that. Right, so Shelly and Shamir had 2 amazing dresses. As a matter of fact, I think Shamir made 3 dresses. She told me that one dress was just a toile. And in fact, I think she posted it on Instagram as well, indicating that one of the dresses was just a toile. And I'm like, girl, that is too good of a dress to be a toile. It was amazing. So you guys need to go and check it out. Shelly also did an amazing job. I was really, really fascinated by her make as well. So shout out to all of my ambassadors. The week before we had Rochelle. She's here in the chat. Rochelle did a cami using Butterick 7001, I think it is. It's a new Butterick pattern, and she was teamed up with Candice of WC Style. Again, these 2 ladies absolutely nailed it. Rochelle has like a whole series here on her YouTube. So if you are curious to see, make sure you go ahead and check it out. Rochelle actually had like a style guide and all of that. She made her cami into like a slip dress, and she styled it a couple of ways. So be sure to go ahead and check that out. So I've got my elastic in. This is what it looks like. Apparently it's meant to be loose like this. And then it says to keep the facing from rolling to the outside, secure it at the center back seam allowances by tacking it by hand. All right, so it's asking me to hand stitch the elastic into place just at the center back seam. So I'm just gonna fold my elastic in half so I can see where the center back is for my elastic, and then I'm going to pin it at my center back seam, and then I'm going to hand stitch it into place as per my instructions. Let me see if I have a needle and thread handy. Now, I don't love hand stitching. I know some people find that part of sewing therapeutic. So if you like hand stitching, raise your hands in the chat. Let us see which one of you lovelies enjoy hand stitching. I generally don't. I much prefer when I don't have to hand stitch. But there are occasions that I will do it if I feel like it will result in a much neater and tidier outcome. Then I probably will go ahead and hand stitch. Now in this circumstance, I don't think I have much of a choice. I don't want my elastic like pulling about in the back, and it specifically says to keep the elastic from rolling to the outside, you need to hand stitch it into place. So I'm just going to go and do that real quick. Some people actually like hand stitching, like they prefer to sit down and do like blind hems. and all of that good stuff with like a needle and thread. Your girl is not typically one of those people. Where I can sew it on the machine, I'm sewing it on the machine. Angela, you talking about hand stitching? Did you hand sew doll clothes? Man, you must have some patience. Is that what you did? I'm curious. Wow. I avoid hand stitching like the plague. If I don't have to do it, it's not going to get done. But again, I don't think I have much of a choice in this one, so just bite the bullet and do it. All right, so I think I'm making good progress. I think now I'm an hour in. I've already completed the front bodice or the front dress or whatever. I'm doing the back dress now. I'm almost finished with the back dress. And then I think we'll put them together. Let's see. All right, so this is what the back of the skirt looks like. The elastic sort of just hangs loosely like this. And I'm guessing at some point my facing is going to cover it. I'm not sure if it's actually going to be stitched into place, but this is where we're at so far. This again is what the back dress looks like. So we can move on now with the instructions. I have made it now to step number 18. Now usually I don't follow my pattern instructions in the way that they're written. And to be honest with you, a lot of the times I disregard the instructions altogether. I sort of just go with the flow and figure it out as I go. And oftentimes it's only after I've made a mistake and I sit there with my seam ripper thinking I should have just went and looked at the damn instructions. But you live and you learn. So the next step is to attach your front to your back at the shoulders. All right, let me see if I can understand what the instructions say. So I'm attaching my back to my front at the shoulders. Let me see if I get this. Do I got this? Let me see. Let me see what I want with this here. Let's see. Nah. That ain't right. Oh yeah, that is right. Okay, yeah, that's right. I'm gonna touch it here. Right sides together. And then I think I've got to fold my facing back and sandwich it in between. Is that what I meant to do? All right, let's try it and see if it works. All right, so I've lined up the back with my front. The facing piece is loose. And I'm thinking now that I have to turn the facing piece back like that and sandwich it in between. Not sandwich the shoulder in between this piece and the facing piece. I'm hoping that's what I meant to do, because if not, I do not want to have to unpick this fabric at all. So let's see. All right, this looks right. Right, I think I'm confident with that. So let's go ahead and do the other side. Right sides together. Right, I got it. Y'all, I got it. I think I got it. So again, I'm pinning my front to the back, right at my shoulders. And then I will sew it at my machine. Is that what I'm doing? Turn shoulder seam for front, first edge stitch, front over band seam, placing outside. All right, these instructions tell me I have to stitch in the ditch. Historically, I have not had very good luck stitching in the ditch. Like, it doesn't turn out like in the ditch. Like, you can almost always see some of my stitches. So if you guys have any tips and tricks for getting like an invisible stitching in the ditch, then now is the time to school me. Sometimes it works okay, but for the most part, whenever I stitch in the ditch, I kind of come out to the ditch. So not been as successful as probably I could be. So let's turn this in on itself again and then stitch it into place. All right. Back to my machine, back to a narrow zigzag stitch. And then let's see what happens here. Any tips and tricks for stitching in the ditch, y'all? Help a sister out. Help a sister out. Maybe it just requires me to be a little bit more patient in my sewing. I don't know. But now, anybody here gets to watch the Great British Sewing Bee? Does anybody else get to watch that show? I know there are a couple of people who have found it. I've seen Auntie Monica watching it over on Instagram. Sometimes in her story, she has a little clip, indicating that woo, yes, child. Yes, Chris. So this is what it looks like. Again, I'm not sure if my lighting and this fabric. So this is my back and this is my front. My facing is right here. It's really, really neat. I'm happy with that. So I can do the other side. As I was saying, I have seen Auntie Monica watching the Great British Sewing Bee, or at least indicating that she is watching the Great British Sewing Bee. Does anybody else get to watch it? I can tell you right now that I do. I get to watch it. And I love it. So I'm curious to find out whether anybody else here also gets to watch the Great British Sewing Bee. It is a sewing competition in the United Kingdom. It features just home sewers. And every week they have different challenges that they have to complete within set time limits. Now, I personally find some of the time limits to be ridiculous. And I tested that out by doing my first live here. And I actually went live with Jilly of the Curated Curvy. And we were trying to sew up the Blair skirt by True Bias in 3.5 hours. Now, I would consider myself a fairly quick sewer. Like, I don't think I'm like the slowest of the slow. And I was not able to complete my skirt in 3.5 hours. And the reason we chose the Blair dress was because for the first episode of this year's Sewing Bee, they had to sew up this A-line skirt in 3.5 hours. And their A-line skirt had tons and tons of top stitching and all of that jazz. And I was like, how do you sew up a skirt like that completed with top stitching in 3.5 hours? And so Jilly and I decided to test it out by sewing live. And y'all, I was not able to complete my skirt. Like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't complete my skirt in time. I got a good way away, but I wasn't able to finish it. And so I really do respect people who are able to compete in like those challenges. You have the pressure of people watching you while you're sewing. Then you have the additional pressure of time limits and all of that jazz. So I do find it to be a really cool competition though. I really do enjoy it. But I just feel like for the challenges that they have to do, some of the time limits are pretty crazy. So again, I'm not sure if anybody else gets to watch. Let me know in the comments if you do. Again, thank you guys so much for joining me as I'm sewing up this dress. I think I'm making good progress. So this is what the inside of the dress looks like at the back. And now the instructions tell you to turn it under by the 1/2 inch here that I was trying to press earlier. and then to stitch in the ditch. But I don't know about that. So what I think I'm gonna do, I think, I made a mistake. I did. All right, so I was meant to turn in the raw edge of my facing by the 1/2 inch. Now I did press it into place earlier, but this fabric is really, really bouncy, so it didn't stay in place. And before I stitched it to my shoulder seam, I should have remembered to turn it back under. So I'm probably gonna need to unpick it. Oh man, why? The devil is trying to play with me. All right. This does not seem to be like the easiest fabric to unpick. But let me see if I can do it. Oh man. Put what on the big screen, Rochelle? What are we talking about? What are we putting on the big screen? All right, so I'm just unpicking it just a little bit so that I can turn in the seam allowance. I should have remembered, I didn't remember. Thankfully, it's not too much to unpick. Thank God. So let's see. Just a little bit more. Girl, the devil is trying to play with me, let me tell you. Let me tell you. But he is not going to win tonight. All right, I think I've unpicked it enough. Whew. Oh my God, Rochelle, why are you doing that to me? Oh, word. Hi, Rochelle, son. You can have mommy time watching me sew. Wow. I can't believe your son is watching me sew with you. Oh. All right, so I managed to get it unpicked. See, the devil did not win. I'm going to go and stitch it into place, and then I'm going to repeat it on the back as well. All right. Right, I saw the thing set up. This is much better. So I've got it down now. And then when I get to it, I can slip stitch it into place. All right, next side. Me and the unpicker are pal. We are friends. Is anybody else friends with their unpicker? Listen, I hate when I have to unpick. Oh my God. I know that mistakes are inevitable when we're sewing, but Jesus. Girl, I get that. I have 2 kids as well, so I completely understand. And one of them is still a toddler. He's not 2 yet, so he can be very clingy at times. So I completely understand what you mean. All right, so I've unpicked this side as well, and now I can stitch that into place as well. Just like so. Pin it back and stitch it back. Right. I did not unpick it enough. Let's see. I hate this unpicker. I mean, you learn the most lessons when you make a mistake, but geez, sometimes it can be so annoying to have to unpick. So take your time when you're sewing. All right. Let's try again. And make sure everything is in its right place. And then give this another go. Right, good stuff. All right, that is better. So when it's done, the facing will cover, the seam allowance is on the inside, and then I will edge stitch it. But you know what? People, the devil really try to get me. So I did the one side, and now I've caught the inside of the seam. Oh my God, of my seam allowance. So back with the unpicker again. Oh my word. What is going on? Oh, Lord Jesus. And to think that I prayed at the beginning of this live. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? And I'm still here with my unpicker. All right. Third time's a charm, right? So this time has to be it. This time I have got to have it. This has got to be it this time. So let us see. Yes, victory. I got it. All right, so we are finally on the right track, front and back. All right, so the facing has to flip to the inside like so. And then this is what the back looks like. And so we can move on now to the sleeves. All right, so the instructions tell you to go and stitch my front to the back at this point. I'm not going to do that because I want to go ahead and put my sleeves in flat. So now it's time for the good stuff. Woo! Time for this puff sleeve. I am attaching this puff sleeve to my dress. Let me see if I can move my table. Just like so. That I can lay out my dress, right side facing up. So that I can insert my sleeve, and that will allow me to finish off like the side seam like in one fell swoop. Now the benefit of doing it this way is that I can then try like base it together and like try on the dress and show you guys what it looks like and see if it fits, because again I didn't do a toile, and so I know that, well, I don't know rather whether this actually fits. Again, I'm not really accustomed to sewing with knit fabrics, and so we'll see what's up. So this is my sleeve, this is my center notch, and I'm going to attach it right sides together with my bodice. Make sure I have it right. So I'm lining up my notch with my arm side. Ouch. All right. Let's see what's happening. Pause a second. I'm going to actually serge my sleeves. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my pink overlocker thread on this green fabric because there's no way in hell I'm going to change up my fabric, my thread now to green, because nah, we're not doing that on a live. Nah. So it's gonna be pink on the inside of the sleeve. But at least it will be all be finished on the inside. Again, it's not necessary, but I like to have inside finished as well. Right, so I have pink on the sleeve. Such is life. And then I'm gonna put it now into place. Is anybody else like me? Are you guys finishing the seams on your knit fabrics? Rochelle says she only does it when she has to. Is anybody else in that boat, or are you like me and trying to finish them seams even in your knit fabrics? Like, it's not absolutely necessary. It is not. I didn't have to do it, but I like it. So, all right, so I'm just pinning my sleeve on the body. Let me make sure. You see that? I had the wrong sleeve. Where is the other one? Must be the excitement. No, I'm making mistakes. I'm getting too comfortable. So let's finish off this one as well. All right, let's try again. Let me find the center of my sleeve. And then I'm gonna pin it in place. Where is my knot? All right, gotcha. I cannot wait to see how these sleeves turn out on this make. All right, so oops. I'm just pinning it into place. Sleeves to my arm side. Again, I had gathered it earlier, so I'm just adjusting the gathers now. So I can have a nice puff sleeve, which I think is going to be super, super cute. If anybody's just joining, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you spending some of your time tonight with me. If anybody who's just joining, if you're sewing tonight, let me know in the comments what you're working on. Is anybody else sewing on this pattern with me? Or are you working on something else? Are you making something for Ankara Appreciation Week? Yes, Monique, I can tell. You can tell I'm getting comfortable because now I'm doing all kind of nonsense and not paying attention to this make. And I really don't want to screw it up. I've got high hopes for this dress, you know. I'm really hoping that it is going to be as bombshell as I think it's going to be. But I probably need to slow down, calm down just a little bit, calm down just a little bit, so that I can have a stellar finished product. A nice, pretty dress. Anybody else sewing? What are you guys working on? Please let me know in the comment section. I know I can't be the only one sewing. Somebody was basting an invisible zip earlier. Have you finished? Is that done? All right. Whew. Gathers, baby, gathers. All right. My goodness, I am so hot, y'all. It is now 8:29 where I live, and it is still roasting. It's dark outside, but it's hot. Oh, somebody's husband. Oh, Angela. What kind of vest? What pattern? Are you making it from one of the big 5 patterns, or are you using an indie pattern? Your husband is a lucky man. Does anybody else in here sew for other people? Like, is that a thing here? Do you guys sew for other people? Like, I hardly ever sew for anybody else. Like, when my daughter was younger, I used to sew for her. But then, one, she came to a point where she didn't want to wear the dresses that I was making. And two, she was growing so quickly anyway. I'm like, I spent all of this time, spent all of this money buying fabric and so on to make a dress. And before she wore it even like 2, 3 times, it was too small. Now, like a couple of them, I was able to allow her or get her to wear them like as tops because they got short. She got taller, luckily, instead of like thicker. But then I'm like, why am I wasting all of my time and effort sewing dresses for this little girl who wasn't really feeling it at one point? She much preferred to be wearing like shorts and a vest or tights and a vest, and I'm not really into to sewing like athleisure wear or anything like that. And so I was like, nah, I'm not doing this anymore. I think since I've been sewing, I made one shirt for my husband. I did put him on my make 9 list this year to make a pair of joggers for him as part of my make 9. I have not yet done that. But I typically, like, I don't enjoy sewing for other people. Does anybody else in the chat sew for other people? Oh, it's a simplicity pattern. But your husband is a lucky man. He is a lucky man. I hope he knows that he is a lucky man. A lucky man. Now I'm going to have to get the joggers done just because it's on my make 9 list. And for that reason only, it's probably the only reason it's going to get done. Now, Rochelle has been doing like accountability over on Instagram for make 9 as well. So if anybody else is working on a make 9 project, how far have you guys gotten? I think I have managed to tick off 5 of my makes for my make 9, I think. If I recall correctly, I need to make a bag. I need to make the joggers for my husband. And I can't remember what the other 2 categories are. But I've made some good headway. We are now into month 7 of the year. I'm not going to get any work done on my make 9 this month. I did put an extra challenge for my make 9 in that I challenged myself to use only indie patterns for my make 9 and indie patterns that I have never sewn with before. Now I do typically tend to gravitate to the big 5 patterns just because I kind of have figured out the sizing and what my pattern adjustments need to be. And so I much prefer, or not prefer, maybe I should say I'm more comfortable like sewing up the big 5 patterns only because I've gotten lazy in my sewing. So when I first started, I used to do tours of every single thing. I don't do that anymore. Hi, Nina. Thanks for joining. So this is the first sleeve. This is the front, and this is the back. This is the first sleeve. Obviously, I haven't done the side seam yet, but you guys can see, hopefully, just how gathered it is at my sleeve head. So I'm going to go ahead now, and what do I want to do? All right, I think maybe I should just put the other sleeve in. All right, so as I was saying, I finished 5 out of my 9 projects. So if anybody else is working on make 9, how many projects have you completed for your make 9? How many projects have you guys knocked out of the park so far for make 9 2024? This is the first year that I'm actually participating in that challenge. And I was happy when I saw that Rochelle was doing the accountability. It's nice to have like an accountability partner. It's nice to have somebody who's expecting you, to follow through. Even though, I mean, I guess if you don't do it, it's not really a big deal. But I feel like, just having that extra support is really, really nice. Another perk of the sewing community. All right, so second sleeve going in shortly, and then we can put the side seams together and see where we're at with this make. All right, so I'm just adjusting my gathers a little bit. I want them to be fairly even. They don't have to be perfect, not by any long shot, but I do want them to be fairly even. So I'm just trying to take my time just to adjust them into place. So that is what I am here doing at my table. And then I can put them in and I can finish my seams with my overlocker. Oh, you guys, I cannot wait to try this dress on. I'm really hoping it turns out as cute when I'm done as it like is like in my mind it's gonna be cute. I'm hoping that it actually does turn out to be pretty cute. But we'll see. Again, if anybody is interested, I did do a video here on my YouTube showing how I hacked the pattern pieces to create like this puff sleeve and to create the Basque skirt. It wasn't very difficult to hack. It does take a little bit of time just because you're adding so much volume. It means that you have to slash and spread your pattern pieces. So that part does take a little bit of time, but it's not a complicated hack. But I feel like most people think that hacking has to be complicated, and it doesn't. So I saw earlier when I went to check my Instagram, I saw that Terrence of Terrence Williams Designs, Carmen had called him out, I think it was yesterday or the day before. She had asked, like, where are all the guys at in the pattern hackathon? And I had indicated that Julian was a hacker last year, so I knew he could hack patterns. She mentioned Will, so I tagged Will as well, and Michael from Daddy Dress Me. And I saw Terrence respond to that call out today, and he was like, he remembered that I had asked him to be a part of the hackathon last year, because I did. I approached him and asked him, you know, whether he would consider being one of the ambassadors last year. Now, I tried to explain to him like what the hackathon was about. Now, it was my first year doing it, and it was like, I was still trying to, I don't know, I was still working on all the details and whatnot, but I did share them with him, and you know, he didn't end up participating. And, you know, I saw him post on Instagram today. He's like, I still have the messages that she sent me and I didn't even answer her. And I'm like, oh, shucks. But he has indicated that he is going to respond to Carmen's challenge, and he is going to be doing a hack as part of the pattern hackathon this year. So I am excited to see, you know, like what everybody in the community is going to do. You know, so shout out to Carmen again for like supporting the challenge and for calling people out directly. Again, this is the second year that the pattern hackathon is running. I almost didn't do it, you guys. I almost chickened out. I knew I needed to revamp it a little bit because last year I did ask the sewing community for feedback, and I did ask last year's hackers for feedback as well. And the feedback that I got was the community wanted to be more involved. Like last year, I was just focused on the ambassadors. They were having like hack-offs. There were prizes. I was asking the community to share, like, I had like prompts for every day and asking the community to share, you know, some of their previous hacks, different categories and whatnot. But then this year I was like, wait, maybe if I get people to actually hack during the hackathon, that will be, you know, more inclusive for the sewing community. And so I'm really, really grateful to my ambassadors and for everybody else who is spreading the word, sharing with other people, encouraging people to give hacking a try, you know, even if you've never done it before. And obviously, as I said earlier, there are prizes to be won, and you have to be in it to win it. Oh, well, I'm so happy about that, Carmen. I'm happy that he has a plan. Listen, when I saw the video today, I actually burst out laughing. I'm like, oh my God. I was sitting here last year wondering how come Terrence didn't answer. I'm like, oh my God, is it because it's me? Am I too small? Is it like, who are you asking me to participate in the pattern hackathon? And so today when he said, you know, in his story that he doesn't hack patterns, so he didn't even answer my invitation. I'm like, oh, what? But I was still happy that he indicated that, you know, he was gonna participate this year. And I'm hoping that other people are inspired to join in. And I'm hoping that by the time you guys see this hack completed tonight, if you were not inspired before, then you will be inspired to give it a try. No, to be honest with you, I think I got into hacking um, because I couldn't get my hands on the simplicity patterns fast enough. Again, I don't have, there's no like, what do you call it, store here or anything like that that sells like, hold on, you guys, I need a water. So there's no store here that sells like patterns and fabric and that sort of thing. There is a tiny store or a section of a small department store here that sells um, very limited amounts of fabric, but nowhere sells like patterns and all of that. So I wasn't able to get my hands on patterns. So obviously, everybody in the sewing community were sewing up like the latest drops and so on. And it's not really that I had to sew up the patterns that everybody else was sewing, but some of them were appealing to me. And like I feel like if you don't get in on the moment, you end up missing out. And that was happening to me because some of the patterns I really was interested in. I wanted to give them goes and whatnot, but I just couldn't get my hands on the patterns fast enough. And so I ended up starting to hack my patterns for that reason. I was like, hey, maybe I can use patterns that I already have in my stash and hack them to mimic like some of the new releases. So I remember doing that with the Simplicity. What is this number? Nine something. It's another Luigi pattern, and that was the one that had like a low back situation with the elastic, so it like hung low in the back. And I couldn't get the pattern, and so I ended up hacking a Vogue pattern and then self-drafting the rest of it because I really, really loved the pattern and everybody was sewing it up. And I'm like, hey, I feel so left out. But then by the time I ordered anything and waited to have it like forward and feel, or some of the people in the sewing community would offer to get me patterns, but then it took forever for me to actually get the patterns in my hand. And so I think that's why I started really, really like diving deeper into pattern hacking. I'm like, I'm using what I have to get results. I can do this. I can do this. I can figure this out. And I started by doing that. And I just kept challenging myself with the pattern hacking. So that is how I got into pattern hacking. And I became very enthusiastic about it. And last year I was turning 35 and I'm just like, hey, I'm going to take a chance and sort of put myself out there in the sewing community. And I decided to do the pattern hackathon. And this year I was a little bit nervous and I'm like, I'm not sure, how, if it was received by the community last year. I did get a little bit of feedback from some people. But at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it. People will or will not participate. I am doing it. Time to step out and be bold and be confident. I'm doing it. But I am really happy though that so many people are showing interest this year. So thank you guys for spreading the word. Thank you to my ambassadors. Thank you to my supporters. Thank you to my sewing friends. Thank you to all of you guys who take the time to watch me, to participate in the challenge, to follow me on YouTube or on Instagram. Again, I really, really appreciate your time, your energy, your efforts. It does not go unnoticed. So thank you guys so much. That being said, if you are here, do not forget to like this live. Just go and give it a thumbs up. Oops. All right, so both of my sleeves are in. So it's time now to finally sew the side seams up so we can get an idea of what this dress is gonna look like. So as I said, I'm going to sew the, I've got loose threads everywhere. Do you guys like clip your threads as you go along? I should, but sometimes I don't, and they sort of just get everywhere. So I've got loose threads everywhere. But time is of the essence tonight, and I need to get like a good way into this dress so you guys can actually see the vision come to life. I don't want to come off this live and I haven't finished like putting like the main dress together. Even if it means that I have to go ahead and like finish it off like later, tomorrow, whenever, I want you guys at least to get a good appreciation for where we are with this dress. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it together now. Starting at the underarm, Just going to pin it together and sew it in one fell swoop. Again, I'm going to baste it into place first, do a quick try on so you can see where we're at, and then if I'm happy with how it's fitting, then I will go ahead and stitch it properly into place. But I'm going to baste it first just because I wasn't able to do it well. Right, we are making good progress. The time is now 8:45. We have been on for an hour and 45 minutes, and I'm actually really happy with where I've gotten to in this make. So let us keep going. Let us keep going. Do not run out of steam, Chris. You can do this. You are making good progress. Yes, yes, yes. Now I have decided to color block this dress. I did buy these two fabrics with the intention to color block. So go ahead and let me know what you guys think of this combination, like this pink and this green. I think it's going to make for an in-your-face, look-at-me type of dress, which is exactly what I was going for. All right, I'm pinning the other side into place now. Just like so. I want to try and line up my underarms, even though nobody's supposed to be a look up under my armpit. I want to try and line them up. Like if you're looking under my armpit, you're too close, right? But anyways, I still want it to be as professional looking as I can manage. So I'm just going to go ahead and line that up and then stitch my side seam into place. Now, because I did the gores skirt, it means that my side seams are quite short, or at least they will look short to you because missing half of the skirt. So just in case you're wondering, I did hack this pattern if you have not heard me say so before, if you did not see it, and I'm going to do a Basque skirt. So I'm going to add another section to my skirt piece. So once I have the main dress sewn into place, I'm going to try it on so you guys can see where we're at, and then we will keep going. By the time I get off this live, I should have the gode pieces in. At least, even if I don't get to do the hem and to finish off like the puff sleeve, I at least want to have the gode in. All right, so I'm just going to stitch it right the way down from the arm side, right the way down to where the skirt begins. Whew. Oh, you want a joke? I just told you that I'm going to baste this into place. What did I go and do? A permanent stitch. Jesus. Lord, this dress better fit because I am not grabbing my seam ripper. I will not. I refuse. I'm really hoping that this dress fits. Oh my gosh. I just told you guys I'm going to baste it. I came to the machine and didn't baste it. Lord mercy. All right. What are you guys' view on Heidi? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining. what are you guys' oh gosh views on sewing over pins? Now, generally, I don't like to sew over my pins, but sometimes when I get to like intersections and so on, I like to sew. I keep my pins in and sew very slowly because I don't want my pieces to shift. Usually, I'm very good at removing the pins as I'm sewing, but there are occasions when I don't. I know some people like, would dread sewing over pins, but there are occasions when I do. What do you guys think about that? Is anybody else sewing over their pins, or is everybody else being a good seamstress and removing your pins as you sew? I do try to do it carefully though. Like even when I sew over my pins, like I try to go very slowly if I'm going to do that. But generally speaking, I like to remove my pins. All right, so I've got my sleeves in. I'm going to turn the dress right side out so you guys can see where we're at. All right, so far, this is the front of the dress. The facing still needs to be stuck in. This is the back of the dress, and then this side is where, right through here, the gode is going to go. So I'm just going to pop this on real quick so that you guys can see what it's looking like. I'm just going to step away from the camera. I do not know how to run like fancy ads and all of that. So insert your own ad. I'm going to try this on. Just give me a sec. All right, so I've just popped it on. This is what it's looking like so far. I haven't taken off my tights just because this is cut up really, really high and I don't need you guys to see my drawers. So I haven't tried on I haven't removed my tights, but this is what it's looking like so far. Oh gosh, this is gonna show up. I'm gonna need some really good like underwear for this dress. So you can see how puffy the sleeves are. I still need to gather it along the hemline, and then I'm going to create a sleeve band right here so that the sleeves like puff up like this. So I haven't done the sleeve band just yet. I want to finish like the gode situation, and then I can probably come back to the sleeves if we have time. So right now they're really, really loose and sort of flopsy, but I'm going to end up gathering along the entire circumference of the bottom of the sleeve, and then I'm going to attach a sleeve band to it. So at the end, my sleeve is gonna like puff up something like this. Like I'm hoping you guys can see the vision, right? So this is what the dress looks like in the front. I think it fits okay. At the front, again, this fabric is quite thin. It's a PK or peak knit or whatever. So I'm going to need to have on some good shapewear under this baby. This is what the back looks like. I need to finish the facing situation or whatever, but for now, this is what it looks like. You can see the tie detail, like the knot detail. I think this is like a really, really cute detail right here. I'm really happy that I went and shortened the pattern by 1/2 inch because it sits right at my natural waist. So this is where we're at. I'm going to go and take it off, and then we're going to insert like the side panels so that you guys can see like what the gode situation looks like. Thanks, Nina. Thank you very much. All right, so let me go take it back off. Right. More water. Right, so I can work now on the gode at the side. So I'm going to put my skirt piece flat. And I'm grabbing like one of the gode pieces, which looks like this. And I'm going to start attaching the flat straight edges here to the straight edge of my skirt. Let me make sure I have it right. Okay, that's the side seam. I do have notches on my skirt as well, so that I can remember where I am adding in the gathered panel. So I'm going to do one side and then see what it looks like. I think I'm going to do this pattern again. I think next time I make this pattern, I'm probably going to sew it up. Actually, maybe I shouldn't say that. I almost went to say that I'm going to sew it up as intended, but probably not. But maybe I should see how I get through with this hat first. So I'm going to add the side gode. Now, I did have a poll up on Instagram asking folks about the color combination and which pieces of the pattern they thought would have been better suited to the main pattern and which would have been better suited to the gode and the sleeve. So this was the majority vote. The majority vote was to use the pink as the main dress and then to go ahead and use the green pieces as the inserts. So I'm hoping that once I put the gode in, it will sort of like balance out the sleeve and that it will look really, really nice. So this was what the people voted for: green gode and the pink main dress. All right. So again, I just need to go and adjust my gathers to my skirt. I've already put my gathering stitches in. Just to save some time, I did it off camera. And now I'm just adjusting my gathering stitches to my skirt. Now, for gathering, I like to use 2 rows of stitching using a long stitch and then just adjusting them where necessary. I do have a ruffler foot. I think that's what it's called, a ruffling foot, or a gathering, is it gathering stitch foot or ruffler foot or something, for my Singer Quantum, and I've never used it just because I haven't figured out like how do you adjust it so that you're, because it's sort of like, I think it gathers while it attaches. So it attaches the gathers to your fabric at the same time. And I just haven't been able to figure out like how do you calculate like the amount of fabric you need or anything like that. And I saw LaShawn talking about it the other night on her live. She was actually using her gathering foot or ruffling foot or whatever to create, is it an Altuza, something like that. A brand. She was making a lookalike skirt and she was talking about the ruffling foot. And I really liked how hers looked. I liked how her finished garment looked. It was a really, really cute skirt. And it was like a lot less time consuming using the foot. But I just couldn't, but I just haven't been able to figure out like how to use mine and how to like calculate how much fabric I will need for a particular space. I don't even know if I'm making sense, but the long story short is I have never used mine. Have you guys ever used a ruffling foot? Does anybody know how to use it or how to calculate how much, what do you call it, fabric your ruffling foot will gather at a particular time? If anybody knows, please drop a comment because I have no clue. And I've had this in my stash, I think, for at least a year or two. And I've just never used it because I just haven't figured it. Not that I haven't figured it out, because I haven't even tried. I just haven't even tried. So if anybody has any insight into the ruffling foot, I will be happy to hear your comments on that. So go ahead and drop them in the comments section. Give your girl some help if you can. Does anybody else have like one of those ruffling foots? Hear me, foots. Lord God, feet. Does anybody else have a ruffling foot? Anybody else? All right. I like the effect of gathers, you guys. I like when it's done, but the process of actually gathering Jeez, it takes forever to gather, and then it takes forever to attach those gathers to whatever you're working on. So I can much see the benefit of using a ruffling foot that's attaching and gathering at the same time. Like, I know I like the effect once it's done, but geez, it is time consuming. All right, so I've got it pinned into place. Let me see if I can hold up this dress. So this is like the Gode insert piece. So I'm just going to stitch it into place now on the one side, and then I'm going to do the other side. And then I can try it on again and show you guys what it's looking like. All right. Do you guys have elections this year? I don't really talk about politics very often, but I saw that there was an assassination attempt, was it, on Trump? So, you know, it's been all over the news here. I've even heard it in our local news being read today on the radio. So it seems like that's a big deal. But if he's campaigning, am I to assume that this year is election? Ah, Patrice, you and I are in the same boat. I bought the piece because I thought, yes, this is going to be very helpful to me because I like the effect of gathers. I just, you know, don't necessarily enjoy doing it. And so I bought the foot and have never used it. But I think I'm going to have to challenge myself to sit down and get acquainted with it. My problem is when I'm sewing, I don't like to just sew for the sake of practicing something. I actually want to make something. So I think probably that's part of the problem. I probably just need to carve out some time and some patience to sit down and figure it out. It can't be that difficult. You know what I mean? Like it can't be that difficult, but I need to take time to figure it out. It must be easier or at least quicker than sewing the gathering stitches and then adjusting your gathers to fit and then sewing the gathers into place. It must be quicker to just gather and attach at the same time. Just trying to push my dress out of the way. I don't want to end up stitching, like catching my dress in the stitching because as I said, I'm claiming it. I don't have any intentions of using my seam ripper for the rest of the night. So fingers crossed, no more boo-boos tonight. No more boo-boos tonight. Is anybody in this chat going to the sorority retreat next year? I think I started talking about it early up in this chat. I was saying that I saw that the tickets sold out so quickly yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. And I see that Monica is having 3 different sets of dates for the sorority retreat. Again, that is on my bucket list. I'm really praying and hoping that one day I will be able to attend such an event in person. I saw so many of you go not last year, this year, and it seemed to me like it was a ball. And so one of these years, I would really like to get involved. Now, one of the downsides is you sort of have to plan in advance because, I mean, I guess you have to know this year whether you're going to be able to go next year in terms of your leave, in terms of your finances, in terms of, you know, all of those things because you actually have to plan ahead. And I don't know if I could plan ahead. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness, I found the money. I can go to the States now. But obviously by that time, all of the tickets are sold out and whatnot. But let me know in the comments if anybody here in the chat is going to go to the sorority retreat or if you have been to one before. It looks like a lot of fun. And I would love to hear about you guys' experiences with it. Like I saw photos, I saw like video snippets, it was like fabric shopping, lots of sewing, lots of building of community. I was really intrigued by that. So Let me know if you guys have been or if you're gonna attend um, next year's retreat. All right, so I've got one go there into place. So I'm gonna just put the other one in so I can show you guys what the dress looks like. So this is one side all done. I need to go back in and like serge the inside to clean it up, but I'm actually just gonna put the other piece in right now so that I can try this back on again so that you guys can see. All right, you guys, thank you so much for sticking with me through this process. This has been a great opportunity for my own like personal development and like personal growth. I don't know if anybody else here sort of lets fear get in the way sometimes. Right? You're afraid of putting yourself out there, you're afraid of trying new things. And so I'm really thankful that you guys are here with me in the space tonight. I feel a little bit more comfortable. As I said, I was super, super nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, if nobody shows up, I don't know. I don't know how I'll feel about it. So I'm really, really happy that you guys are here. If you're sewing, if you're having some sewing company, or if you're just like watching the process, thank you for choosing to spend some time with me in this live. Now, I don't know how often I'll be able to do this just because, again, I have two kids and it's not all the time that I have like a quiet house and some free time to do stuff like this. And again, I don't have a sewing room that I can go and like shut the door, shut them out for a little while and sew. But they're not here tonight, and so I'm using this opportunity to do this live. That's why it's so quiet around here. Like you can literally hear like the frogs and the other night animals outside. I can hear all of their noises outside. It's just so quiet in here. And I mean, I guess if you're outside, you'll be wondering like, nobody's home. Who is she talking to? Is she talking to herself? But no, I'm talking to you guys, and this has been a really rewarding experience. Again, for my own personal growth and development. So again, thank you lot so much for spending some time with me tonight. I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying my company as much as I am enjoying your company. If you are, please do not forget to give this live a like. Right, so more gathering, more gathering, more gathering. Is anybody else in here from the Caribbean? I am in Montserrat. So that's a very tiny island in the Caribbean Sea. We're almost like a dot on the map. Like you almost can't find us. It's really, really a small island. We're really, really close to a couple of the other islands. Like we're a 20-minute flight away from Antigua. And in order for me to get any flight to any destination, I have to take a 20-minute flight to Antigua, and then I can get connecting flights from here. Like we don't have like an international airport or international flights. We have two airlines, but they have very small planes. So they have like nine, I think they're 9-seaters. So if I'm going anywhere, I have to take two flights. I have to take a flight to the neighboring island of Antigua, and then I take a flight, like for example, to Miami or wherever else I'm going. So is anybody else in the chat from the Caribbean? I know Patrice is from, I think, the BVI, but is anybody else by chance in the chat from any of the Caribbean islands? Whether they be the big islands, I know a lot of people are more familiar with the bigger islands like Jamaica and Trinidad, perhaps even Barbados. I feel like a lot of people don't know the smaller islands. I've been away on several occasions and have been mistaken for a Jamaican. Our dialects are similar, so when I speak like in my native tongue, the dialects are similar, but we are different in many respects actually. So again, I live on a very tiny island. Is anybody else thankfully, I was not affected by Beryl. We did get some thunderstorms and a little bit of rain on our end, but she was much further down the chain, closer to um, what do you call it, Barbados. So some of the neighboring, well, not neighboring islands, although to be fair, nowhere in the Caribbean is that far. So some of the other islands like Grenada and Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines did have a rough time with Beryl. I do have friends and I do have family like further down the chain. My husband is actually not from here. He's not from Montserrat. He's from another Caribbean island called Dominica, not to be confused with the Dominican Republic. This one is the Commonwealth of Dominica, and that's like further down the chain as well. So yeah, a lot of our dialects are quite similar. I've heard it several times. Um, I did have the benefit of studying though in Jamaica. I went to school in Jamaica for 2 years, and I also went to school in Barbados for 3 years to do my degrees. Again, because we're such a small island, there are no universities here, anything like that. So I have had the experience of many different Caribbean cultures. So I'm just curious, has anybody else been to the Caribbean? Like, have you guys been to the Caribbean, any of the Caribbean islands? Do you have any of the islands on your bucket list? Is that in anybody's contemplation at all? I was so excited today when I went on Instagram and I saw, I think her name is Geneva, and she posted that she had done a cruise and she had gone to Antigua. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you were in Antigua. That's just like 20 minutes away from me by flight. I'm like, I could get to a different island here faster than you guys can get like on the highway, like I-95 or whatever in Miami. If you're going from Miami to like Fort Lauderdale or maybe even all the way up to Orlando, it's taking you guys hours to get, you know, from one part of one state to another state. And I can go to like different islands within the time that it takes you guys sometimes to commute from work, I'm sure. So has anybody else been to any of the Caribbean islands? Do you have any intention of visiting any of the islands? I'm curious, have you ever heard about my island before today? If anybody has, I will be astonished. Like if you knew about Montserrat before, like I will be astonished. Like in the schools here, we learn a lot about like states and in the UK, obviously, I told you guys that we are British citizens here. We are actually a British overseas territory in Montserrat, so we are British citizens. Um, but like we learn a lot about like other places here at school. But I'm not sure if you guys, like especially in like the UK and the US and so on, if you guys learn about the Caribbean at all. I would be very curious to know. So let me know in the comments box if you guys had heard of my tiny island before tonight, and if you are familiar with any of the other Caribbean islands. Like, have you been to any? Do you want to visit any of them? Let me know, let me know, let me know. Oh, so Angela has heard about Montserrat. I think there would have been a time a couple years ago when we would have been in the news a lot again because we have this active volcano. Though to be fair, she hasn't erupted for quite a couple of years. But the seismic activity and all of that is still being monitored. We still have um, an organization called the Montserrat Volcano Observatory that monitors the seismic activity, and we still don't have access to 2/3 of our island. That is considered the danger zone. Nobody lives there. They do some like ash mining and so on inside there now, but like nobody lives there. It is a tourist attraction though. When tourists do visit the island, they like to go in and see the volcano, see the destruction to our town, and so on. It really is amazing. Like God's work is amazing to see an entire like city wiped out completely by a natural disaster in that way. So if you've never seen it, I would encourage you to, you know, at least Google it. You might find it interesting. You might find it enlightening. I used to be asked all the time, are you not afraid to live there? Are you not afraid of the volcano and so on? And for the most part, we're not. I think we sort of just have gotten used to it. So again, if you've never heard of my tiny island, if you are curious, you can just put it into Google. It is Montserrat. and you might find it interesting. Oh, you did Caribbean history. Okay, that's interesting. I wasn't sure, how many other places like do those things like mandatorily. We do here, like we learn the neighboring islands, their prime ministers, their national dishes, all of these things we had to learn at school. And then obviously we had to learn a lot of like English history and so on because we are English for all intents and purposes. We did learn about like some of the American history, though arguably not as much as the English history. But like you learn like all the states, and that sort of thing at schools here. So I was just curious whether you guys also have to learn about Caribbean history where you're from. Again, I know a lot of people have connections to like the bigger islands like Jamaica. I think a couple of the people who I follow on Instagram and interact with, either their parents or grandparents or whatnot, are like from Jamaica. So I know that is one of the more popular Caribbean islands. And like people tend to know more about like the larger Caribbean islands than they do the smaller ones. So hence my question, whether you have ever heard about Montserrat before tonight. All right, we are at 9:15 now, and I'm almost finished putting in my go days. I didn't actually cut the sleeve band. Oh, I did cut a sleeve band out of paper, but then I didn't think I had done it wide enough. I started second guessing it, so I didn't cut it out of my fabric. And so I'm probably not going to be able to finish my puff sleeve on this live just because I'm missing a piece. That is my own fault. And to be honest with you guys, I didn't think I would even get this far in my dress. I'm really actually surprised at how far I've gotten. So that means that this sew is probably a pretty quick sew if you sew the dress as intended. Again, I did not. I hacked my pattern pieces. And so maybe this would have been a good dress for like Black Sewing Network's Power Hour. I think they're doing like 2 hours or less sewing patterns. And I think if you sew this dress up as intended, you can probably have it done within like 2 hours. You probably could have. If I didn't do all of this like creating the seam lines and having to take the time to like attach my gathers and that sort of thing, perhaps I would have been finished by now or maybe closer to being finished. But it does take some time to get the gathers. Even though I gathered the fabric like before the live, it does take time to attach the seams together and then stitch them into place. So we have made good progress in my view on this dress. So I'm really happy about where I've gotten. And I'm going to see how much more I'm actually going to be able to get done on this live. Oops. All right, so I've got both of my gorded pieces in now. Oops. Oh, my gathering thread has wrapped itself around my foot. So let me see if I can get that out. Oh, gathering threads everywhere, you guys, everywhere. All right, let's just go ahead and cut that out. All right, so let me show you. All right. Patrice is also in the BVI, so she learned some Caribbean history, which is not surprising. All right, so this is what it looks like with the gode pieces in. I need to go ahead and remove like the gathering stitches so that the gathers will fall nicely. And I'm going to need to go and clip my curves and then finish with the serger. But you guys can at least get an idea of what it looks like. So I'm just gonna step away again so I can try it on so you guys can see like what the gode inserts look like. So run your adverts again, be right back. All right, so this is what the dress looks like with like the gode pieces. Has a lot more volume. Once I go ahead and like clip the curves and remove like the gathering stitches, then these pieces will relax just a little bit. And of course, I need to press them as well. Then these pieces will relax a little bit and sort of like stay like more flat. So you can see the shape right at the side. You guys can see what the curve looks like here. Same thing on the other side. Again, once I remove my gathering stitches, then like it wouldn't like bunch up this much, but I have a second row of gathering stitches in it that is sort of keeping it in place. And once I go ahead and like trim my seam allowances and cut into the curve, because this is a curve right around here, then the gathering pieces will relax. But this is basically what my dress is going to look like. Again, I haven't finished my sleeve, so I'm going to have to gather it and then it's going to puff up like this. So I'm going to have like a puff sleeve and then the gode skirt, which makes it super, super squishy. Now, I really like the idea of doing the gode skirt because your girl is like a rectangular body shape. Like if I wear a dress that is like, what do you call it? Like if I have done the pencil skirt on this dress, I would have had like lots of volume at the top by the time I get done with my puff sleeves. And then it would make me feel like I look top heavy, like too much volume on top and not on the bottom. So what I went ahead and did is I have the pattern so that I could create some volume at like my hips to give me a little bit more like shaping throughout the waist. I feel like with this situation, it sort of accentuates the hips and sort of gives me a little bit more shape. Once I go ahead and put on my shapewear and, tuck in the belly day, like, sort of like, whoo, pull myself in, then I feel like it's going to be all right. Like, what do you guys think? This is the back. Again, the cutout. I was actually a little bit concerned that it would be too small, like too tight. But I actually feel like this PK knit has good, like, stretch. It doesn't feel like it's squeezing me. And in fact, maybe I could have, like, taken it in a little bit more. Maybe I could have sized down, maybe. I don't know. But I feel like it looks okay. Not too bad, right? Not too shabby, considering that this is a pattern hack and a color block. What do you guys think? Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Angela. Thanks, Tony. So I need to go ahead now and finish off like the inside facing. I need to stitch in the ditch so that I can catch it on the inside. And then I'm going to need to go ahead and finish off the hem. I'm actually wondering if maybe it needs to be a little bit shorter. I did end up shortening my pattern by 1.5 inches when I was cutting out my fabric. I am 5'8.5" and I'm very short waisted and I carry a lot of length in my legs. So keep that in mind if you're making this pattern in terms of the length. I shortened mine by 1.5 inches and it's still like just above my knee. Like when I held my pattern pieces up to me, I was wondering if it was going to be like hoochie short, but it's not. Thanks, Carmen. But I think it's okay. And I'm thinking maybe I can even shorten it a little bit more. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this like skirt situation needs to be shortened a little bit? Like I think I'm going to do a hem maybe about an inch or so. Like so. Like do you think it needs to be like shorter? Or like is that indecent? Let me know what you think. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad. In my mind, it looked better. Like in my mind's eye, it looked better. But having made it up now, I think it looks okay. It's not as as I thought it would be, but I'm not disappointed. I don't think I'm disappointed. But I do feel like I need to like get the sleeves like puffed up so that I can really see like volume and volume like this. All right, so I don't think I'm going to be able to finish the sleeves, as I said, just because I didn't cut out my sleeve band. Initially, I had cut like, it would have a finish of an inch. But I think I actually want to have like a thicker sleeve band, maybe a finish of like 2 inches right here. I think that that would be nice and it will help to like support the weight of this puff sleeve a little bit more. So I think I want to go ahead and add a thicker sleeve band to it, but I don't have it cut out, and so I'm not going to do it on the live. And I also need to hem it. But that being said, I think I need to think about it for a little while and decide if I want to shorten it or not. Like this is one of my major like hang-ups when I'm sewing, the lengths and the proportions. And if like I don't like my garments to be too long. Sorry. Ooh, throat is dry. Like I want this to be like a cute dress. So I feel like maybe I need to shorten it. But that's gonna take me a little while to think about it. Maybe I'll have to try it back on again at another time and see what I feel about it. But for now, I think I'm gonna stop here with the construction of it. I haven't got to 10 o'clock yet, which means I still have time to do more on it. But what I have left to be done, I can't finish the sleeve because I didn't think I would get this far and I did not prep that one piece for the sleeve. Oh, I'm so annoyed at myself. Maybe it is. Maybe even. I wonder if I should just create like an elastic casing. But no, my mind is set on the cuff. So I think I'm going to finish it off camera, like the cuff, and think about the hem situation. And then, of course, it's just to like slip stitch down the facing situation. So let me know what you guys think of this hack. Maybe if I did it again, I would do it in like a solid color, maybe even like a solid black. I think this might make for a pretty cute, like little black dress. Make it a little bit shorter, use a stretch knit that has maybe a little bit more beef to it so that it will hold the shape of the like puff sleeve and the goatee a little bit more. I thought that this fabric would be fun because it has drape to it. And I thought that the gathers around here would need that drape so it didn't look like bulk sticking off on my hip. But maybe if I did this again, if I sewed it up again, maybe I would want to make it in a fabric that has just a little bit more like weight to it to hold the shape a little bit more. All right, so this is where we're at. I'm not even going to change again because I think I'm going to call it quits on this for the night. I'm just going to finish off the insides of those goatee inserts by using my scissors to just clip into my curves and then finish it with my serger. And then I'll probably finish this dress maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. I get like that. Like when I get to a certain point in a project, like I'm over it. Like I've seen it. I've seen the vision like come to life. Before it was just something in my head. I reduced it into the pattern hack and I needed to see it sewn up. And I was super excited that I was able to do it tonight. I'm like, yes! I don't have to sit down and think about it for another week or two and then get discouraged and let fear get in the way. So I was really glad I had this opportunity to sew it live here with you guys on YouTube tonight. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to join me. I can tell you that this was a little bit nerve-wracking, to be honest. And there were times throughout that I was wondering in my own mind, oh my God, am I doing a terrible job? But I have a sense of accomplishment, and I could have only gotten that with you guys here with me. Like if I was just sewing it by myself as I usually do, then it would have been fine. But just knowing that other people are watching me sew, possibly critiquing my work, possibly wondering what the hell is she talking about, that sort of thing. It could be nerve wracking, but I feel like I've got this under my belt now, and I feel like I will do this again. I don't know when, but I think I can do this again. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here tonight. It's just about 9:30, so I have half an hour to go. But I want to say thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. And I will share this finished dress over on my Instagram at On Social when it's done. And I'll probably do a YouTube video as well so that you guys can hear my final thoughts on the dress and, of course, see the finished garment. So again, thank you very much so much for joining me tonight. Even if you were just watching, if you were sewing, if you enjoyed the company, y'all don't know. Y'all don't know. Y'all don't know. Like so many times I let fear like hold me back. And I think I put limitations on my own self. I didn't think I could do it. I did it once before, but I had like somebody else. God does not give a spirit of fear, but a spirit of hope and joy. So I did it. Yes. So thank you guys so much. I'll bid you guys farewell and good night. And please come back here and over on my Instagram to see the finished make. If you are not already following me on Instagram, please go ahead and do so. Check out what's going on with the Pattern Hackathon. The hashtag is Pattern Hackathon 24. So you can see the amazing entries that have been coming in from the sewing community. If you are a sewist, a sewer, a tailor, an alteration specialist, if you sit at a machine in any capacity at all, I would like to take this opportunity to encourage you to give pattern hacking a try. Again, sorry. Again, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be anything like this where you're altering like a sleeve and like putting inserts and so on. But try it. Try it. You have to be in it to win it. And again, I have some amazing prizes. I could not have done it without my sponsors. So shout out to all of my sponsors. And shout out to all of the participants, and shout out to all of you who are the encouragers. Y'all don't know how far encouragement goes. Like, I feel like I'm tearing up. But you guys don't know, just that little push sometimes from people who don't even know you, that is amazing for me. So before I break down crying here on this live, thank you guys so much. Peace out. I'll see you guys sometime soon. Good night.